How to master contracts as a newly licensed real estate agent. When you're diving into the real estate industry, all the contracts and paperwork can certainly be daunting. And so in this video, I'm going to break down the simple way to actually get to know and ultimately master the contracts. That way you don't have to avoid them, you don't have to fear them, and you can be more equipped for when you have that opportunity to help that buyer or seller with the next steps in the process. And if you're new to the channel, my name is Tyler Roicki. I help people build income and wealth in real estate, and I run an international real estate team at eXp Realty. If you get any value whatsoever out of this video, all I'd ask is that you like, comment, and hit that subscribe button so that I can continue to share more tips and resources with you on the journey ahead. And with that in mind, let's dive into the video. Oftentimes when we're getting started as real estate agents, we tend to think and stress and worry about how we're going to write up all these contracts and know exactly what to put on the form and how to write it up the right way, not get into trouble, not get our clients into trouble, etc., etc. Now, it's very important to understand that as real estate agents, we do not write contracts. We're filling in blanks. So the forms that we're utilizing, speaking to those of you in the United States, which I know is most of my audience here at this point, but we are using promulgated contract forms, meaning they're standardized, meaning we aren't writing language here. We're filling in blanks, and there are a very finite amount of blanks on any of the contract forms we're going to be utilizing. And so fact is, if you get to understand what those small number of blanks are that we can potentially fill in and what kind of terms it is we're dealing with along the way, it makes the process a lot more clear and smooth as far as what we can potentially put in there. So if you get to know what are the blanks and what would be some examples of what might go in those blanks depending on what it is, it takes all the mystery out of it and the wondering of how you're going to write stuff up. No, we're not writing, we're filling in blanks. It really is a lot more simple than oftentimes we make it out in our head to be. So once you realize that, and hopefully that's a paradigm shift, let me know in the comments if that is eye-opening for you. But the second tip is get to know the most common forms that will be utilized on an ongoing basis with the clients you're dealing with, which a lot of times residential real estate, you're dealing with likely the same similar scenario from contract to contract, from deal to deal, that is. And so figure out what those forms are. So for example, purchase contract, there's likely a single contract that you're going to be utilizing from deal to deal in most situations that's going to look the same as far as the contract and what you'll be filling in there. So purchase contract. What about buyer representation documentation? What kind of document do you need to represent a buyer? Same thing with the seller. What kind of document do you need there? Is there a listing agreement? Something in the way of seller representation. But between those three, you're going to have a lot of your bases covered. And then beyond that, it's just knowing the specific state forms you're going to need, especially as it relates to disclosures, which, there might be a variety of those depending on the scenario. There might be broker specific disclosures. There may also be disclosures for a client as far as what a seller will have to disclose. But if you start out with all those basics and understand what the different forms associated with those main forms will be, such as a purchase contract, there's a variety of amendments that could perhaps be added to it depending on the situation. But for starters though, just get to know those core forms: purchase contract, buyer documentation, buyer rep, and then listing documentation, listing agreement. Those three, get to know the disclosures that are going to be most commonly used from deal to deal. And once you've got those forms together, here's what you're going to do. Read through them. Read through them. I know it's boring. I know it's contract language. I know we'll fall asleep trying to read it potentially, but that's okay. Just read through it word by word and get to understand what each and every paragraph is saying, what it's asking. And again, pay attention to the blanks and think to yourself, well, what might this be asking? What might go here? And then once you've reviewed it, read through it 3 times, practice filling in the blanks. Just do a mock transaction. You can do this however you want, but maybe you pick up a property that's listed on the MLS and pretend like, okay, I'm going to pretend like we're writing an offer up on this, and then start filling out the contracts and documentation you need. And that's going to serve as your practice, because you're either going to practice and do this ahead of time, or you're going to wait until you have a situation where a client actually needs to put an offer in, and then you're essentially going to do the same thing then, except the clock is really ticking at that point, and you've got to make sure it's all done correctly before you submit it and whatnot. But if you do a mock one, it's going to serve you well, because once you dial this in, it's going to help you be more prepared when it's time for the real deal. But practice filling in the blanks. Do the very best you can to get it filled out completely according to the scenario, offer price, terms, etc. And then once you've done that, once you've completed your documentation, your mock documentation, step 4 is review it with a mentor. So send it to someone experienced, someone, ideally you're going to be paired up with a mentor. I don't know the particulars of your situation, your brokerage, etc. What I will tell you though is, if you are in a situation where you're just getting started diving into the business, or if you're in a situation where you don't have mentorship and you feel that you could truly benefit from having a hands-on mentor locally that's there to review your documents and to help you out with each and every next step, if you could benefit from that, or if you need that, do this. Reach out to me, send me an email. You'll find my contact information in the description below. Part of what I do in my business is I work with real estate agents all across the map. I help them dial in their strategies, tactics, but I also can and will facilitate mentorship on a local level, between the extended network I have, to put it as easily as possible. But bottom line is, if you need a local mentor in your market area, if you don't already have that in place, get in touch with me and I'll see what I can possibly do to help with that. Now, that being said, hopefully you do have a mentor in place, and in that case, review that mock documentation with them and ask them to point out specifically what you did wrong, what mistakes you made, or what they would do differently in this situation. And from there, assuming that they look at that detailed and make those notes and revisions for you, it's going to help and serve as a template for future contracts you might be writing up. So I would save that template and use it as a reference point as you're working on any contracts you will in the future. And actually, that's basically what I did when I was getting started. Is as quickly as possible, I got a template done and I used it as a reference point for contracts I filled out after, and it really helped smooth out and really helped me understand what it is I needed to do on future deals, and took a lot of the stress off my shoulders of feeling like I didn't know the forms or know what to do with them. So if you follow those 4 steps, it's going to make a huge difference. It's how you can master the contracts as a newly licensed real estate agent sooner rather than not. So take that, go utilize it, and sharpen that skill set. And if you got any value out of this video, all I'd ask is drop me a comment and hit that subscribe button, because I'd love to continue to share more tips and resources with you to help you grow and develop on the journey ahead as you're progressing in real estate. And if there's anything I can possibly do to help you now or in the future, if you need mentorship, if you need help with anything whatsoever, I'd love to see how I can help you out, and how I can potentially help you get more of what you need on a local level as well. So go ahead and send me an email. You'll find that information in the description below. And all that being said, thank you so much for watching the video, and until next time, I'll look forward to seeing you on the next video.